Theo, good morning. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you too. Thanks for having me here, Andrew.
You're very welcome. So the play that the play that gets loud, quite a provocative title. Tell me about the basic premise of it and why it was important for you to write it.
Absolutely, yeah. So the play that gets louder is a story that follows the soldier Cooper, who is looking for his axe. He's on the search for this axe that has a lot of importance in his life and his family. And he's woken up in this abandoned and rundown hospital ward amidst a war. And he's encountered by 3 other soldiers, one on his side, 2 on the other side. And the play looks at this real-time situation in 1 hour where they have to share space with each other, and what kinds of things are they going to say? How do they bond if they do? And as a result, will he find his axe as well? And this meaning, I mean, I've been trying to figure it out while making the play. It's just such a strange object to kind of bring into the space and talk about, but it's tripped the fate of this world because we've set it in a retrofuturistic world, so like an alternate reality from 2025. And so you'll see as well in the play a lot of sort of kind of jokes and irony about the way we talk about words and how they changed because of one chink in history. So yeah.
Well, yeah, that sounds really intriguing. And this is your first play that you've written, is that right?
This is my first play. Yeah.
What was that process like?
I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, actually. It's funny. I've written screenplays before, and that was my whole thing when going to Toi Whakaari while studying acting. It was like, how can I keep this filmmaker brain busy? And I was like, write. And then because I'd written screenplays, I thought, I'll be able to write a play. And it's really weird. I didn't even know how to format a play, really. I really understand how you format screenplays, but there's many ways you can format a play when you read them as an actor. So I was like, I don't even know which one to start and what implications that would have. But then I thought about the scripts that I like to absorb and just think about what's easy to read and to kind of differentiate the characters when you're reading it. So anyway, there was little things like that. But what made me want to write this play and how I ended up writing this play, I knew that I wanted to tell this story that I'm always exploring about brotherhood and friendship and bonds between young guys, and how I ended up in the arts of all places. But I also understand that other world of the football lads, the kind of tougher and more closed in guys. And, but doing the arts is the polar opposite, and you're expressive and you're more in with your emotions. You can talk about those things, but it's like, I'm not really in that world. I'm in both worlds. So how can I draw in both audiences, actually? And so that's why I came to writing this play, as well as wanting to explore multiple themes, because I want to speak to my mum as well. And I want to write something with her in mind and basically do, because when you finish acting school, you are told, there's not much work out there, yada, yada, yada. And so I was like, right, let's do the thing where you make the work. And it's been a long journey, but here we are.
I read in some of the press materials that it was exploring challenges faced by young men, and particularly issues around masculinity. Now, it's been a while since I was a young man. So what are the kind of issues that young men of your generation are kind of facing now? What's going on there?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a range of things. I think there's quite a lot of isolation for people younger than me. And that's a result of the tech and the social media. I mean, even if you point to a show like Adolescence that's just come out, you can kind of see how for really 13-year-olds, how this is all they've known.
Yeah.
For someone like me, we've known a little bit of the bike riding, and then we've known a lot of the Instagram. Yeah. And so because of that blend, there's been push and pull that when you do have a night where you can just get together, where you can talk about each other's lives and connect in, you're aware that you've experienced those things before, and you're keen to keep that intact and not completely let it go. But I think the things that young men are facing today is still that jump of how do I like look after myself? I think still, I don't know. I watched this channel Jubilee, who does a lot of debates around middle ground, and it's that thing of like the masculine men and what it means to be masculine, and then the femininity side and the more liberal take. And being in the arts, I understand the liberal take, but then I also understand this other side where in today's society, people are feeling like they have to fight back against this woke ideology and go, no, I can still protect my own. And then I think guys are struggling to know how to then express themselves in that. And without taking up space as well. I think that's really a big thing, especially for us who know how much space we've taken up and how many problems or issues men have created. We're also aware of like, we're not all bad. And so how do we have these conversations without treading on other toes and doing it safely? And so I think that's actually hard. The irony is most guys don't do it. And that's why we have such crazy suicide rates in New Zealand for young men, especially brown men. And I think it's just hard because it's not cool. It's something like that. Or the only way to do it is to have a laugh. And I think I just want to show examples of, hey, look, there's a way to still be hipster. There's a way to still have a laugh, but there's also a way to kind of tap in for a second and be like, hey, what was that you said? Or do you want to say any more? Or here's what I'm going to say. And ways of doing that, I feel like, that connect guys are if you talk about your mother. And that's something I learn a lot, is that I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. He's talking about his mum here and how he's a mummy's boy and how soft that makes him sound when he says it. But I'm like, actually, we all were in many ways. And so here we go. We're all the same. Humanity's there. So yeah.
Well, you've said the word that actually counts in all of that is humanity, because one of the things that I've thought for a long time, and I'm actually exploring in some interviews, this notion of how identity politics are everywhere, right, left, center, no matter where you're from culturally, whatever. Identity politics are everywhere. Some people choose to ignore it or don't see their own identity politics. But fundamentally, we're all human beings. And I think one of the things around masculinity is the labels around this and what is stereotypic, because the reality is the emotional side of myself is not feminine. It's male. The assertive side of a woman is not masculine. It's part of being a female, about defending themselves, So I'm interested in exploring that. You talk about masculinity. Do you have a definition of masculinity? Because I think a lot of people are really struggling with it.
Yeah.
And we don't have to, because it can be however you choose to express it.
Yeah. I think it is a tricky one to kind of define in this time. I think, it's a great question. What is masculinity to me? I think it's being responsive and listening, and it's being open-minded. And I think it's also standing your ground and, being accountable of things you do in life and how you tread space. And I mean, this is where it trips into my value system, and then it might go over and it's more my individual take. But I think for me, I'm upholding people who have come before me, who have walked this path, both ancestrally and then my own close family and that's what it means in the context of my family. But I think, my dad was not someone who built he's terrible with DIY. And so it was never like yep. But he's a football fan. And so if anywhere, that's where it comes out a little bit. But he's also in this industry, the creative industry. So we both have a sensitivity and have conversations. And masculinity to me is about having conversations and being able to talk about things in depth. But some would see that the other way. It doesn't have to be deep. Yeah.
See, again, these are human things because women do all those things.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. There you go. And maybe that's the point. Yeah. Maybe that's the point as well.
This is as a species, we tie ourselves in knots and try and create difference between ourselves.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And we're all the same, no matter where we're from. We all do the same things. We may wear different clothing. We may do different practices. We may have some differences in food. We all do the same stuff, whether we're male, female, non-binary, whatever. We do the same thing. And so I think these kinds of conversations are really interesting because it's like, why is it that some people get so defensive and wound up if their worldview, their way of looking at things is threatened, which it probably isn't, but they perceive it as so. So I don't know. Is this the kind of thing you're exploring in your play?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're exploring moments in action. So it's not all in words as well. It's in expressions and in physicality, and how, just like with when a group of guys are together, there's ways of humor and there's things they say, and maybe not all of it flies, but there's this language that definitely exists, and why it exists is always interesting, where it comes from and what life it brings as well to individuals, and that's the way they've been communicating their life as well. But I don't know. I think I've always found it fascinating going to like parties, and especially when this was during Toy, and when it wasn't like an arts party, it was some other thing like a Vic Uni, right? Where there's a lot more of these kind of guys or people from Dunnet, those sorts of guys. And I just definitely had judgment on them, but I sort of saw one thing. Then maybe you prod them with a question like, what's your dream though? Like, what do you really want to do out here? Or, I know you're, and then they go, oh, well, man, I guess it's like, I've just been trying to figure that out. And suddenly the language just shifts. And I'm like, I think not many guys get to have those conversations, just about their lives and where they're at in context, because it's all just got to be this train of motion where, you can't be that you can't be that internal and reflective on yourself.
It's not safe. It's not safe where they are. It's not safe to do that. Emotionally safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a shame.
It is. But I think there's things out there, and there's art out there, and there's pieces out there that are trying to point us in a direction that are saying, hey, and this is not the first time anyone's ever talked about these themes. I think I want to put them in a context, which is quite, it's high stakes. It's a high stakes scenario in a war. And
absolutely. And that kind of hypermasculinity is the characteristic that people look for in war, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you have to see the enemy as an enemy. You can't have empathy in the traditional sense of warfare. You can't see people as human like yourself. Yeah. Well, that's all really very exciting.
Yeah.
Interesting things.
Challenging too as well when doing the research on World War II, especially for this play, as a backdrop in World War One, and how the characters, people were flawed, but there's so much layering to it, and how there's so many men that were excited to go fight, and how just a lot of guys would still see a gun like, whoa, that's something quite cool. Of course, we're not like America and New Zealand where we feel like we need them, but the second you go to laser tag as a kid, the first time you're like, yo, this thing, and I think there's that too, which is quite a heavy thing to buy into, even making this play. I'm like, that's right. There's an excitement and like a bravery of, I want to fuck the other side up and I want to win. And it goes back to competition, and it goes back to you're wrong, I'm right. But when all that is said and done, and there's confusion and there's doubt, and that question sits in, it's like, uh-oh, that's right. We're just the puppets. And maybe I don't have as much control as I thought I did. Then who really am I? And what do I really believe?
And we can manipulate it. You mentioned social media earlier. It's about isolating us and living in a virtual world, when it's really connection between people is actually what people are seeking, and they're getting this virtual, almost junk food aspect of it. So yeah. Just a couple of final things. I'm really excited about the play. It sounds, I'm really excited to see it. So tell me about TikTok. you've got a massive following on TikTok. How did that come about?
Yeah. So if we want to talk about how young men are stuck online as well, I'm responsible for that. But no, I think it's really interesting because how I go about it is craft. How I go about it is just like it would be an acting exercise or an audition or a script. It's the same thing. You're layering it up and building a world, even in a 30-second video. And, I think that's a place for actors and artists to make their work. And the only way you can make it with that truth is if you are tapping into, let's say, the humanity of the world and you're observed. That's what I love doing, to create all these scenarios. So I've been observing life and just can't help myself from recreating it or reflecting back with a mirror. And so that's what the TikTok thing has been.
And you're satirizing it, and some of the comments from people who, oh yeah, that's exactly like it is, and references to the things that you are satirizing.
Yeah.
So you've caught probably what people are thinking, or maybe not quite thinking, but all of a sudden it triggers. Yeah, I've kind of felt that myself about what aspects of life.
Definitely.
So yeah, have you been surprised by the reaction, the numbers?
Absolutely, yeah. I think I've gotten more used to it over the years. When it first started, I'll never forget kind of like sitting in a McDonald's and someone knocked on the window. It's like, can I get a photo or whatever? And that was 3 months in, and it's been like that for the last couple of years. And I sort of get a bit numb and get confused about it. I'm like, wait, people take photos with me? Like, that still doesn't make sense. Like, some of the world, what can happen is you can work on a play for 2 years and only 400 people are going to see it disappear before your eyes. And this content stuff, you can make one video and it can get 10 million views. Hundreds, thousands of people can be commenting, interacting with it. Some famous person sees it. And you start getting work from it, and then maybe you get paid from it, and it's just got this other life which you can't control, and you're aware of, and it comes in peaks and troughs. And so I found it fascinating, and I've learned a lot from it. But it's always been like, try and focus in and not think about how you get viral, not think about how you'd make the money. Let that come; that may come. But kind of staying tapped in, because I think you can play a dangerous game when you start gaining fame, and then you start also having a sense of power if you're speaking to a lot of things. So yeah, it's come with responsibility. Yeah, it's very, very cool though.
Yeah, no, very cool. And just so, final question for you: do you have a go-to comfort food? This is something, particularly if you're feeling lonely or down or whatever.
Yeah.
What is it?
I'm like Burger Fuel. Shout out Burger Fuel.
Right.
I know exactly what I want. I go there a lot. And even the last time I went, I got some free fries because the guy's like, yeah, you're a regular now. I was like, right, yo.
I thought you were going to say you've seen you on TikTok. So what is it? What's the go-to meal at Burger King?
Oh, it's a burger modified Thunderbird is what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love it. I've been eating it for years, and then some spud fries.
Well, that's brilliant. Hey, Theo, really nice to talk to you. All the best for the play. I'm looking forward to seeing it. So,
thank you. And I also thought I'd just quickly shout out the team behind it as well, right? So we've got a beautiful, amazing team. Black Creatives Aotearoa and my company Boothbox Banter are presenting it, and along the way we've got this amazing group of artists that have come on, and Logan Cole is going to be directing it. He's a brilliant director. He worked on Peter Pan with me, and that's how we first met. And then Kevin Souza, a young producer, a young male producer, which in the basement space in general, you don't often get as well. So it's nice to bring other voices and perspectives to the theatre making scene. And then we've got Dione Joseph and Sananda Chatterjee, who are helping us as mentors throughout this project. So we can really bring a lot of young voices to life and allow us to express ourselves, but do it with professionalism, do it with rigor, and step up. Bring something quite unique and special that is quite daring in the basement. It's a small space, but we really want to be bold and ambitious. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, again, congratulations, and really nice talking to you.
Thank you, Andrew. Cheers.